Nairobi alone, there are 40,000 women, over 40,000 women in sex work in Nairobi. 9 out of 10 of women in sex work are single mothers.
Wow.
They've been working in this industry since 13 years old. What we are doing, we're literally stealing from the devil. He doesn't like that. No one is too far gone for Jesus.
Yeah.
You can be born again at 8 or at 80 or at 100.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, we are restoring hope and dignity to some of the most marginalized, stigmatized, and frankly, forgotten women in our city. But I think also for us is to create a space where, instead of me doing the advocacy, let's raise enough of these women to actually do that for themselves.
Yeah.
Because they will understand. They will speak in a language that I will never be able to speak.
Yeah.
I get to work with women who've been told, you will never be anything. And now she's 60 years old and she's saying, I'm just rediscovering that I can be something. You know, when you're speaking and you're trying to explain what it is you're saying, I don't get it. It's like, it looks like you're having a stroke or something. Like, what is this? Like, what's going on?
Yo, what's up, good people, man? First, thank you so much for always joining us for the DJ Mo's podcast. We do not take it for granted, man. I'm always excited to be able to have wonderful guests joining me for conversations. People who are known, other people who are not known, but they are known in their circles. And, just being able to have genuine, honest conversations with them. So, man, as you continue digging in and enjoying the podcast, we'd like to encourage you to go ahead and support us, man. This is only possible through your love and through your support. Pray for us. Talk about us, but then also you can go ahead and go a step further and support us financially. And you can do that by our account number and the till number. They're all, is it till number? No, the pay bill number and the account numbers iko hapa hivi, si ndio? Please do go ahead and support us financially, because this encourages us, it allows us to be able to pay our bills and to continue hooking you up with more great content, si ndio? Thank you so much for your love. In the meantime, man, let's continue in our conversations today hapa hivi on the DJ Mo's podcast.
Yeah, we want to spread the reach, get more people knowing that we exist and we do this work, that this field has not been left completely isolated.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what people think.
So there are people we're rolling, by the way. There are people who are probably listening and they're wondering what it is that we're talking about. But let me say first, I absolutely love the work that you're doing, Eunice. It's incredible. I'm a fan from kutoka mbali. Like I'm looking behind the scenes.
No, you are. And I feel like you're also very much immersed in your own ways. Because if you were not, then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have been at the Cocktails and Conversations 2023.
Yeah.
So you are.
Yeah.
Your kids fundraising, baking and fundraising on our behalf. You really are. Part of the family.
I love the work that you do. And, maybe for the guys who are watching and listening, for me, this is a very close podcast for me, because I want people to hear about the work that you're doing. And I know that I've just been reminded that, Friday, which is now, guys are watching this the day after.
Oh, yes.
So it's Valentine's, and even as you talk about love.
Yeah.
I think that what it is that you're doing is you have expressed the love of Christ that I can only share, that it's like, when I think about it, it's the story of the lady in Luke, where Jesus is talking about, is having a conversation with the Samaritan woman. I don't know if,
Yeah.
And the love that he had for her is exactly what you've gone ahead to do.
Was it John 4?
John 4, that's how, like, I said Luke, and I'm pretty sure it's not even there.
Yeah.
John 4, about the story of Jesus Christ, the Samaritan woman, because you have gone ahead and demonstrated this for us today. And, so I want people to hear about the wonderful work that you're doing with Rejesha, and then we'll go back from there. So why did you start Rejesha, and what's Rejesha about?
So Rejesha, and for those who don't know, the Rejesha comes from Ku Rejesha, which is to to bring back or to restore.
To rest.
Yes.
I love to restore.
Yes. So what we're doing, we are restoring hope and dignity to some of the most marginalized, stigmatized, and frankly, forgotten women in our city. So these are women in sex work. So Rejesha reaches out to these women. We go out to CBD, the Central Business District of Nairobi. We have an outreach mission, a Saturday night outreach. And we invite these women to just come up. We eat together. We serve home-cooked food. We eat together. We eat from the same bowls, the same cups. We drink from, it's such a space that we wanted to create for women to feel so loved, so seen and respected.
Yeah.
Which is taking from what Jesus does for us and has done for us.
Yeah.
He has made us sinners feel very much at home and welcomed and respected.
Yeah.
And also taking so much from what Jesus used to do. Jesus was always going to someone's house and eating people's houses, eating with people that, the Pharisees were saying you should not be eating with them, eating with the sinners, the sex workers, the basically the downtrodden people of society. And taking from that and saying, I think there is something in us coming together to eat together. And I think what I often say is on that table, it equalizes us so much.
Yeah.
Because most when we come together and we're eating, I'm hungry, you're hungry.
Yeah.
There is not a matter of, but this is who I am in society. And what are you? We're both equalized in that way.
Yes.
So there is that sense of respect and love and dignity that we give to each other. So that's why we started Rejesha with the come and let's share a meal together.
Yeah. I mean, when I listen to you and, you're saying that you have reached out to the downtrodden, the people who are looked down upon, people who are treated like trash. When I listen to you, and I'm sure for my guys who are watching this and listening to it as well, they're like, man, Eunice is so polished in her English. And so, kumendaje, how is it, that you have decided that you're going to go into the streets, and where did this passion come from? Yeah.
Oh, and it's a very long story, but I will try and...
It's fine.
We have time.
So
I believe I was about 21 years old, and I had gone to the UK. So I did spend some time in the UK. That's where this accent that I cannot shake comes from. So I had just gone to the UK and I was studying my degree in psychology. So then when it comes to Christmas holidays, we would come home.
Yes.
The summer bunnies, we need to come and get the sun because it's winter at that time. It's December and it's cold. So I had come home and two of my friends, we decided we were going to take a trip to Kilifi.
Yeah.
So we go to Malindi and it's amazing. And we have, we just want to be there for holiday, basically. But without knowing, and I say this, that I was so innocent and so naive, because everywhere we would go, Mose, we would go to coffee shops. We would go to, when we went to have... basically all the things that you do on holiday, go to the beach, go to eat, go clubbing. I was a Christian, but really I was just a Christian by saying. So we would go clubbing, but everywhere we would go, Mose, we would be asked, hey, I can help you look. You girls are so beautiful. I can help you look. And I'm just like, what are we
looking for?
What are we looking for? We came for holiday. We're here to have fun.
Yeah.
And then we would meet people who would say, oh, and I have an amazing house. You girls, you're just so gorgeous. I like the way you're dancing. You should come to the house tomorrow. Actually, that was offered to me.
Oh, man.
Being very, very naive.
Yeah.
So my friends are a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
So they both had gone to the bathroom. So I was left in charge of our table. And I think this guy knew that I must have been the youngest or very naive or whatever it was, because he came straight to me and he offered and he said all those things and was like, girls, come tomorrow. I have this beautiful house and I have a chef and a swimming pool. And I'm thinking, Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
What a gentleman.
Oh, yeah, he's opening up his house.
He's very, very kind. When my friends came back, I think one of them, she almost, I think, slapped me across my face. She was like, how stupid are you? What do you think?
Wow.
What do you think you're being invited to go and do?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. We're just going for a meal.
What are we being invited to go and do? Like,
Yeah.
that is, when it finally landed in my mind and in my heart, Mose, when I tell you, and people know about this, that I saw it everywhere. It now made sense. It made sense why we would go to that club and these girls would run towards a car that it's coming because they want to be the first one to be picked. And they were young, Mose. They were even like 14 years old. I'm 21. These girls were much younger than I was. 17, 18, 19, some who are older. But they're all rushing to be picked towards a car, or when we go to the gelato, it's there. It's happening in the open.
Yeah.
When I tell you, my heart, like for me, my heart was broken. But I didn't even realize my heart was broken at that time. I think it's later on, because when we went back after the holiday and I went back to the UK and I went back to class, I do remember that this thing for me stayed with me. It never went away.
Wow.
And I would remember asking, what is even this that I have just seen and witnessed? Because I don't even understand what it is. And then also my curiosity, I started doing a lot of research and I found out there is something called sex tourism, that people go to certain destinations because this is what people do. They would just want to go and indulge. And that happens across Africa. It's happening across Asia. It's happening across Latin America. It's happening in so many places in the world. But then I also discovered there is something called child sex tourism, that people will go to these locations just because they know that the laws are so lax. There are no laws, basically. And you can go to these locations and do whatever you want to do and get away with it.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like the ball was just snowballing down the slope. I then realized there is something called human trafficking for sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
Phew. Like my heart, every time I would find out something new and I'm just like, Lord, like,
Wow.
I remember thinking, I hate this. I hate what I now know, but I don't know what to do. It's real to have that sense of anger in you.
Yeah.
But then it's the anger where it's like, I've just seen so much injustice and I've discovered there's so much injustice happening and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think that's where I lived. I lived in that space for a very long time of there is so much injustice and I don't know what to do. And then it took a while for me to get to a place of saying, okay, what do you want me to do about this? Because clearly this thing is not going away. And my friends, the two friends that I had, they went back into their own. I mean, they're doing amazing, incredible things. But for me, this thing
Never left you. Yeah.
onto me. So when I say I feel like I didn't choose this. I didn't choose it. I will be very honest and say that even before working with the women that I now work with, I had the same judgment and narratives that most people have. I used to have them.
Yeah.
It's taken me spending time with the women that I work with to actually see them in a very, very different light. And I think it's taken God to soften my heart, to change the way that I judge the women that I serve.
So you're in the UK and this thing has latched onto you and it's not left you, and clearly God is calling you to something. And what did you do next? I mean, did you start doing something in the UK, or did you feel you needed to come back here in Kenya and start?
So for the longest time, I knew that I wanted to come home, but I wasn't sure what it is that I was going to do. So remember that I was studying psychology, and I thought, oh, maybe one day I can be I actually wanted to go into criminology.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a criminologist and do all of that stuff. But as this thing is growing in me and I'm discovering that all these things exist, like human trafficking and sexual exploitation, I decided to start volunteering in different capacities. Actually, my first time that I volunteered, I worked with refugees.
Yeah.
And then actually you realize that there are so many stories of people who are refugees but end up being trafficked.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that happens.
I mean, there's a story that came out for Mo Salah. Not Mo Salah, sorry.
Mo Farah.
Mo Salah is my guy for Liverpool. So I'm sorry about that, man. I meant Mo Farah.
Yes. That was he came out and shared his story of
Yes.
what was now
he was trafficked into the UK.
Into the UK. That happens a lot. So I started volunteering. But then also I was doing so many other different jobs, like so many just to make ends meet. I was working as in a hospital, like I was doing everything else, but I was volunteering. And then I started working with different groups. I started working with women who are fleeing domestic violence. And I think it was after that point that, and then I volunteered with an organization supporting survivors of trafficking from Africa into the UK. So first of all, I volunteered with them on their project. And it was then I was like, oh my goodness, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like this is where all this has been leading to.
Yeah.
So then I said to myself, I feel like I need to go and also learn and understand better, like what should I be doing and how to even tackle this better. So I did go back to university now to do my master's. This is like 3 years after I had graduated with my psychology degree. I went back to university and I did master's in international development, but with a focus on gender. So that allowed me actually to come back home to do I did a research paper on connecting human trafficking with child sex tourism and also with sex work in Mombasa. So I was speaking to young women who had started working as it's actually, I feel like it's a bit of an oxymoron to even say child sex workers because that should not even exist. That is exploitation. A minor should not be a worker. That doesn't happen like that. But I interviewed these young women who had been working in this industry since they were like 14, 13 years old. Some had been brought over from up country. Like human trafficking exists in Kenya. I think people don't know that. It does. Kenya is a hub. It is a transit, but it is so much a hub for trafficking. So there are people who are being trafficked from up country, taken to different locations, even here in Nairobi. Or there are people who are passing through from Ethiopia, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania. Like there is a transit of trafficking happening across Kenya. So I was talking to these young girls and they are talking about their stories of growing up, no education, grow up very poor and desperate. Parents, mom has been left with like 7 children. This girl is the eldest or amongst the eldest in the family. And mother has gotten to a point where she's like, I can't feed everybody. Now you girls, you're old enough. You go and do what other girls are doing. Like we need to feed this family. She's just been left with such a burden. So they didn't complete their education and they've been working in this industry since 13 years old.
How big is this magnitude? I mean, just listening to you talk that Kenya is a hub for human trafficking or even commercial sex, how big is it? What's the magnitude of this?
So I can say in Nairobi alone, first of all, this is the most understudied area in Kenya. There are so much research going on for so many other things happening, but this is not studied enough. In Nairobi alone, there are 40,000 women, over 40,000 women in sex work in Nairobi. And that That figure was taken well before COVID-19.
Wow.
Months after COVID-19, we have seen such a significant rise in women joining sex work.
Mm-hmm.
Women who used to have jobs, women who used to run their small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
but COVID came and you remember how everything just, so many businesses were lost.
Yeah.
Even fully fledged businesses
Mm-hmm.
were lost.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can imagine for those who were running small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many people whose businesses did not survive.
Yeah.
And again, the other statistics that we don't get to hear a lot is 9 out of 10 of women in sex work are single mothers.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you have a family to feed and put a roof over their heads and
Mm-hmm.
send children to school, you most likely did not complete your education.
Yeah.
You were running a small business that did not survive.
Yeah.
You don't have the skills needed to go into the formal job market.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you knew is how to put a small business together.
Yeah.
Where do you then go? Because then you're shut off
Mm-hmm.
from entering the formal job sector.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Your choices are very limited.
Very, very few.
Mm-hmm.
So this element of choice, when people say, oh, but see, wamechoose, like, see, wanataka kukua hapo.
Yeah.
And I say, but if you don't have any other economic choice to choose from,
Mm-hmm.
it's this or this.
Yeah.
For all of us,
Mm-hmm.
us who are so privileged, we went to school, we finished. Some of us were able to go and do our degrees
Yeah.
and do our masters. I have so many choices.
Yeah.
Most today, if I said I don't want to do this anymore, I have like 20 things that I could go into.
Yeah.
And I am qualified.
Yes.
But if you don't have anything else to choose from, it's this or this,
Mm.
what do you do?
You know, I like that you've said that because the general assumption for many people is, you know, these guys have chosen to go down that road.
Mm.
You know, they would have picked up any other job to do. They can go wash clothes, whatever it is. But for me, when I think about it, I'm like, I do not think there's anyone who would necessarily choose to go and be a commercial sex worker.
Mm-mm.
What are some of the experiences that you've come
Mm.
across as you've been engaging with the ladies in the streets?
Mm.
So at least people get to know that
Yeah.
this is not for the faint-hearted.
Oh gosh, it is not. It is not. Oh. And of course, this for me is it's very heartbreaking.
Yeah, and maybe I should ask you, maybe from your day one when you went into the streets, yeah.
So from day one, first of all, my day one was just, I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I still don't know what I'm doing half of the time. I think it's just that I just have that. It's just, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
If no one else is going to do it, then someone has to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like I have like a ton of experience. Even with my work in the UK, the volunteering work that I did,
Mm-hmm.
you still cannot come and think, oh, but then now we know what to do. We can apply
Yeah.
this and it's going to work. So I still don't know what I'm doing. But when it comes to listening to women's stories, I would hope and I pray that that's something that I do with
Mm-hmm.
honor and dignity to the women, because I think that's what, if anything, I can do that. I can listen to the stories, and let me tell you, the stories are, they're not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. So for example, if I give you a story of a lady who, when I first met her, and she would say, oh, Eunice, me, I'm so numb. I am so numb today because of the things that I have experienced. I have met. And let me tell you, evil exists, and evil exists among us. I don't question that at all, because these stories just talk of personified evil, that there are people who would pick these women up only to just, like, they just want to do like some really horrific things. When we sat down and she was in a flood of tears and she's just saying, I am so stressed and my mind is so filled with all the things that I've gone through, all the trauma that I've experienced. Like I feel like I just want to walk in front of a moving truck and I just end. Because
do you want to share with, guys who are listening or watching, like some of the traumas that these women go through.
Yeah. Oh, so being stabbed, being taken and gang raped,
Wow.
being thrown out of moving cars. I have gone to pick up a woman who had been beaten so badly, I didn't recognize her face.
Wow.
Her face was beaten so badly. Eyes, yeah, like really, really bad. Yeah, incredible things that happened to these women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on average, how much do you think they would be earning for sleeping with? Yeah.
It depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. If your higher end massage parlors might be different,
Mm-hmm.
but for women who are standing on the streets,
That's like, no, most of the ones you're dealing with are in the street corners.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could actually, for sometimes it could be 500 bob, 1,000 bob. If the demand is, if the supply is quite there it's high,
Mm-hmm.
then it means that you lower your standard and you lower your rate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be even 200 shillings.
Yeah.
If you go to the estates are terrible. It can be 50 bob,
Mm-hmm.
literally. Imagine
Oh, man.
50 shillings.
And
Yeah.
so you've said that quite a number of, you said 9 out of 10 are single mothers.
Yeah.
Do their kids know what they do?
Kids grow up to know. They do. They will do. They will put one and two together.
Yeah.
Kids after 7 years old,
Yeah.
and you're always leaving the house late and coming in the wee hours of the morning, they will start asking, but what do you do?
Yeah.
What is this job? So actually our women, when you get to hear them talk about their stories of how like their children knowing is such a something that breaks their heart so much.
Yeah.
They will talk about it so often. They will just be like, I don't want my children to grow up and know what it is that I do.
Yeah.
So we have women, you will have women who will go and who will lie to their children. I mean, they all have to, they have to. But this lady, there's one lady who told us the story of how she took her children to a restaurant and she said, I work here, bought the uniform. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Bought the uniform, so the children have seen the uniform, and then she took them to the restaurant. They sat down, they ate, and she said, you see the uniform that I wear at home.
Yeah.
It's the same one here. This is what I do. So she leaves the house at 2 p.m. And so that even the estate people can see she's going to work. She's going
for
to some form of work.
proper work. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's like, I don't want my children to go home and then it's Christmas and they're being asked, mamako anafanya? What does your mom do? And you know, children likes to talk about those things. And then they're like, mi mamangu anatokanga usiku anarudi asubuhi. They don't want that happening.
Yeah.
So they create a scenario of, I don't want people to know what it is
Like
that I do.
survival tactics.
It is such a burden. It is such a burden on these women. A lot of them talk about it. And it's that lack of even respect for yourself. They will say that a lot. Mimi Eunice, siwezi jiheshimu juu ile kazi yenye nafanya. Like, how do I do that? How do I respect myself when I know what it is that I come out to do?
Yeah.
They will, and I think that's why even in the work that we're doing, we're getting so much traction and so many women saying, I want that. Nobody has ever offered me that opportunity, but I want that. And why? I want to give myself the respect. I want to see myself in a different light.
Yeah.
I deserve that dignity.
Yeah.
My children deserve that dignity. I want to see them. Nataka wanione mimi ni mtu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, as you're saying, they want for their children to see them as women to have dignity. But first, it's like they have lost it for themselves, and not by choice, you know, because of life has forced them into that corner.
Yeah.
But then you have people who have completely indignified them. Is it indignify or undignified them? English. One of those.
Someone will tell us.
Yeah. And they're trying to do the best that they can to be able to survive. And in this space where they're being treated with such disrespect, I think you've got to get to that place where you're like, who am I? You know, yes, I'm alive, but I really feel like I'm not living.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. Some of the thoughts that could be going through these women.
Yeah. Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this what I was created to do?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got to ask themselves that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do.
Have you been able to, raise some of this, like go to the government and talk about what's happening? And not to try and paint the government in bad light, but what's the feedback that you get?
Yeah, I think it's the same old narrative of lakini si akina mama wamechagua kukua hapa. Like that's usually the narrative that we get. Mm-hmm. But I must admit, I think we do need to get to a place where we can do advocacy more openly, mm-hmm. and maybe even a bit more, for a lack of a better word, a bit more forceful.
Yeah.
I think we need to get to that place. Where we've been as Rejesha, we've been in a place where we said, first of all, we need to understand what's happening, mm-hmm. The issue on the ground. Because if you're going to do advocacy, you do need to understand the needs, mm-hmm. Understand the people that you're working with, mm-hmm. to a good enough level that mm-hmm. you can represent them. I think we are getting there. But I think also for us is to create a space where, instead of me doing the advocacy, mm-hmm. let's raise enough of these women to actually do that for themselves. Because they will understand. They will speak in a language that I will never be able to speak. Let's get to that point where we can bring women together. We can bring different representatives of the government, policymakers, and say, now, let's mm-hmm. all sit down together.
And, we are living in how our African culture is, or let me say, where, like, I don't know if I saw a commercial sex association or something like that.
Mm. There is something.
There is something like that I think I've come across.
An association, yes. Yeah.
But I feel it's like, because of the African culture, they will always be looked down upon and they'll never be taken seriously. I don't think it's like in the Western world, where even they have their issues, they have their struggles. Yeah. But I think here, because of the setting that we have,
the stigma,
the disrespect and the dishonor that comes with that kind of work, that unfortunately, even the people who are in positions of influence, it's like they will not do much to be able to help.
And first of all, it's also
the life of these women.
Mm-hmm. So I think we are caught up in that push and pull of, like, mm-hmm. what do we do? It is illegal in our laws mm-hmm. to be or to profit from proceeds from sex work. So I think the government is really, I guess they don't know what to do. And then we are caught up in this moral, we walk around with, this is immoral and this is what moral is. Mm-hmm. So there is also that push and pull. We don't know. Then we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, these are human beings.
Yes. These are people's sisters, mothers.
Yes. They deserve to be represented.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, they are there. They exist in our society. Mm-hmm. So we do need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And also, I think speaking into the work that I do, we've really come from this in a very different approach. Mm-hmm. If you talk to so many people about, what can we do about sex workers? Mm-hmm. They will always say, we need to make sure that they are coming from a sexual health, reproductive angle. Mm-hmm. There isn't a lot of people coming with the angle that Rejesha Project has come through with. Mm-hmm. In fact, when we started, it's almost like people were laughing at it at the beginning. They're like, that will never go anywhere. That will never take off because these women don't want to leave what it is that
they want to
doing.
Continue doing
they want
this.
They want to do this. And we said, okay, let's go and find out for ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's discover whether that's true. And we're realizing more and more that is not true.
It's a false narrative.
It is. We have so many women. First of all, we have so many women who've left sex work and are thriving in different jobs and in different spaces of society. We have so many more women who are currently in different jobs and vocational training on their way out of this industry. And we have so many more women who are waiting. Like we have a waiting list of women wanting to join our programs.
So let's talk a little bit about Rejesha, because I really do want people to hear about the amazing work that you guys are doing. So yes, I think it's clear that you're dealing with commercial sex workers.
Yes.
So what does this look like? What's your engagement with them? And, you guys just sitting down and having conversations, having a nice meal together. Let's just talk.
I think at the beginning I mentioned we have the way we reach to our women is through our outreach. And by the way, that's a very great space for anyone who wants to plug in. We take volunteers. Come and plug in, come and serve. So that's how we connect with them. And that's how we build relationships. There are some women we've known for 3 years, some we've known for 5 years. And then the other thing that we do, we offer exit solutions. So our exit solution starts with mental health, or let me call it our therapy. I've been told mental health has a different connotation on this side of the world. People immediately go to Mathare Hospital, we have a therapy program with a professional and an amazing therapist. We give these women it's a rare and unique opportunity for them to engage with their past traumas, talk about their emotional and mental challenges, but also gain tools on how to be resilient. Resilient when it comes to caring for their mental health and emotional health. So we start with that. And then from there on, and actually also the mental health is a good space for them to start rebuilding on their confidence and their identity and who am I as a person, my sense of self-worth, because that has been eroded so much in this industry. And then from there, women say, I want to be this. We ask them, what did you want to be when you were 13 years old? What was the dream for Eunice? What would you have been? And they would say, this is what I wanted to become. I wanted to be a hairdresser. I wanted to be a driver. I wanted to be an interior decorator. And I'm telling you things that have actually happened in our program. Then we go on to our in-house skills training. We wrote and developed this. Hearing the stories and coming from the needs of the women, we wrote it and catered for the women. When we do our training, there is sharing happening in the room because we want them to feel as comfortable as possible.
Have you picked up on sharing? You have to.
Oh man, I have tried, but sometimes I forget which word goes where, so I end up using it in the wrong context, and that's not where it's supposed to be applied. I have very amazing stories, but yes, I have picked up on my Sheng and on my Swahili. When we do our skills training, we ask them to dream. We do vision boards.
That's so good.
And these women sit in a room like this, and they get to dream about their life. The lives of their children. What would that look like? What do I want my goals to be financially? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time? What about spiritually and emotionally? What do I want for that?
That's so good.
And they sit and they cut out pictures. Literally, it's one of the best. For me, it's the best week because it's like sitting in a room. We all become children. When we are allowed to dream, we become like children, which is what Jesus has done with us. He has allowed us to dream. Forget to dream about again, yes, you've been there. You have a past. But now you're starting afresh, which is what we do. And then we train on businesses for those who want to go into business. We help you Write a business plan. Don't just say, I want to go and have a fruit business. What is that going to look like from the beginning? And then how much money do you think you're going to need? Where are you going to set this business up? Like, write a proper plan. So that if you go out there with your business plan, you need to do better than you did before so that it doesn't fail all the time. And of course, yes, businesses fail. But we want to set these women up with the right skills and the tools to be able to access jobs outside of the industry, but also to thrive. We then do things training women on financial literacy. And that is not just, hey, learn how to budget. It is more than that. We did a class on investment. We brought experts to train us on money market funds that are available to women. And they came out of that session saying, I didn't know that we were actually, that could be available for me. Like, for me, it's the upside down kingdom of Jesus. It is what was designated for the high and the lofty, making it available for the people who've been downtrodden, forgotten in our society. I think that is the kingdom of Jesus. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. We make sure that we are empowering them to thrive in all areas of society. We do things on parenting skills, and they sit in the room, they're like, oh, I just wonder what it would have been like for my daughter if I knew this 6 years ago. Now she's 14 and I don't know what to do with that. But if I had these skills 6 years ago, I could have done something different. But now what do I do? Now that we are here, what do I do? Most we have I feel like we have such incredible stories of where women are and the things that they've gone out to do.
It's incredible what you're sharing, and the amount of impact that you're having in the lives of these women. And what I do love is the intentionality to be able to pour into their lives. So you're not just sitting down and having a chit chat with them, but you're like, okay, actually there is an end goal to this. I want to see you out of the streets and want to see you empowered and being able to gain back your dignity and start doing something different for you to be able to earn income, to be able to earn money. What's been the success rate of Rejesha, and as you've been engaging with these women?
And success looks so differently for each woman. For me, success is if a woman comes into the room and she could hardly recognize who she is. And then at the end of therapy, she's like, I can stand up for myself. For me, that is success. When she goes home and she says, I was able to have a decent conversation with my daughter. We're no longer fighting at home. Now we're having a conversation. That is success. So success looks so different for each individual, and we celebrate each person with their own success. For the woman who saved up money and has come back and said, I have opened that money market fund. Guess how much I'm saving every week? I'm like, yes, Jesus, let's go. So it's going to look very different for each woman. And then there are those who've gone from coming to our street outreach, coming in so drunk, so like they sit there and I'm thinking, are they going to be sick or what's going to happen to them? They're so high. And then seeing them in jobs, showing up in jobs, they're showing up at 8 a.m. to learn. We have sober. They're leading a sober life. Some of them have given their life to Jesus completely. We have a woman who's been baptized.
Oh, so good.
Like, incredible things are happening. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, Jesus, I didn't know.
This is incredible.
That this is what it would become. And I am just like, in fact, I'm getting goosebumps because I'm like, why did you choose me? Like, why me? But I'm so grateful, and it makes me very emotional, actually. I'm so grateful that it is me. And I get to walk with these women. I get to walk with women who've been told, you will never be anything. And now she's 60 years old and she's saying, I'm just rediscovering that I can be something. And I've never been given the opportunity to leave the streets. For 30 years, she's been on the streets.
Old?
62 years old. And she's currently in one of our partnerships. Today is a day of her training, or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It's the day of her training, and she's going to class and she's learning something, and she's going to make something out of this. And she's like, I had never been offered an opportunity.
Yeah.
When I've been working for the last 30 years, people have offered me so many other things to help me progress in my work.
Mhm.
Other people offer me condoms, and they offer me, they help me just do this work.
Mhm.
But nobody ever saw me and said, but you do realize you can do something else.
Yeah. You know what I love, like when I hear about the 62-year-old lady, is you don't discriminate. Because many of us would be like, 60 years shaenda, she's gone.
No.
There's nothing else to offer.
Yeah. No, we don't. We don't. Because that would be going against what Jesus stands for.
Yeah.
There is no one is too far gone
Mhm.
for Jesus.
Yeah.
You can be born again at 8 or 80 or at 100.
Yeah.
No one is too far gone. And every one of us, when the Bible says that before the foundation of the world, I knew you and I designed your life before anything was ever made.
Mhm.
For this woman, it is so true for her, like it is for you and it is for me.
Mhm.
So at 62 years old, she's rediscovering, but what did God want with my life?
Yeah.
Yes, I have been here and I've done all these things, and for her, this work, she's worked and she's educated her children, but she's like, but what about me?
Mhm.
What was to become of me?
Yeah.
And I think that's all we can do, Mose. I think for me, I just say, let's just create a space where people can have hope.
Yes.
That's what Rejesha stands for.
Yeah.
A space where people can have hope, can rediscover themselves again,
Mhm.
can start afresh.
Yeah.
We are in the business of second chances,
I
in
love
the
that.
business of hope.
Yeah, I love that.
And we will do, and often enough I say, Jesus, if we set Rejesha up and we use however millions of money that we need to use for just one woman, it is worth
It's
it.
worth it.
If it is for that 62-year-old or if it is for the 22-year-old,
Mhm.
it is going to be worth it for me.
One of the things I appreciated when, during your last event,
Yeah.
was, you had a couple of the ladies who had gone through your program.
Yeah.
And, invited this young lady to come and speak. I think she's
Yeah.
21.
No,
She's 20.
she's 30, 32.
Oh, she's 32.
Yeah, she's
oh, man.
gorgeous.
I just assumed. Yeah,
No,
she's beautiful.
32, yeah.
And, she came and she talked about the impact that you guys had in her life and how she had always wanted to be a cosmetologist.
Yeah. That was her dream.
That was her dream.
That was her dream. So when we did the vision boards, she's like, this is what I want to do. And she said, I'm going to be the best makeup artist
Yes.
Nairobi has seen. And we're like, yes,
Yes.
we will.
And, now for her being able to talk about what had happened in her life through Rejesha. And she had gone to, she was now going to, after going through your program, she's gone to college. Yeah, she's gone through the makeup classes, whatever it is that she needed to do.
She
and
did
now
an advanced diploma in cosmetology. And then she did advanced diploma in cosmetology, but as a TOT. So she's not only, she can do makeup, but she can also now train. She is
so
a
good.
teacher.
Yeah.
And an incredible young woman. But
And she was so joyful, and she was like, man, I have this newness of life, and it's like she's in a new season.
Yeah.
And I say this just for people to be able to understand and to appreciate the work that you guys have done as Rejesha. And also for me to be able to celebrate you and your team as well. Because she's there and, now she's on a path to a new journey, but she's one of many.
Yeah.
There were two elderly women who were there with us as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All in different journeys. They've all gone through our program. I think another one is doing baking. She's just gone to class. She's learning how to become she always wanted to be a caterer.
Yes.
So she's learning baking. The other one has a license
Mm-hmm.
she can do electric motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly do love what it is that you're doing. And for people who are listening to the podcast, and watching it, how do we engage with Rejesha? How can we be a part of, whether it's financially or to volunteer, to keep you guys in prayers? How do we do that?
Especially all those things that you've mentioned. Definitely come and plug in and volunteer. I think I'm so glad that we have so many volunteers. I think we are approaching 40.
Oh, that's amazing.
Volunteers.
Yeah.
We need more.
We need more. There's a lot of work to be. I mean, we have 40,000 women as of 2019 who are in the streets.
Yes.
So that's like 1,000 with your current number of volunteers. With that number, it's 1,000 per volunteer. Oh, wow.
So we need a lot more. Yeah. And we're reaching people across this city and people are hearing about us. So come and volunteer. Come and volunteer. That is such a great way to serve and to be hands and feet of Jesus, is to come and sit with the women, come and serve them, come and eat together and just share stories. That's what that space is. It's just an incredible space. And then, yes, of course, our programs, we've mentioned all our different programs. We can't be able to run any of them without financial support. Yeah. I think the event you're talking about, it was a fundraiser.
It was a fundraiser,
less than 2 weeks ago it was. So yeah, we need money to keep our mental health program, our group therapy program going, our skills training program going. The women who are leaving to go into different jobs, we support them.
Yeah.
Because we want them to be able to go and thrive in these spaces and not having to think, but now how am I going to pay rent? So we support them. So for example, there is a woman who is doing her training in construction and joinery because she wanted to become an interior decorator. And she's in a prestigious school where she's being trained in that. But it's a full-on week, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5.
Yeah.
How is she going to pay rent?
And we do not want her to go back to the streets.
Exactly. So we support women when they're going through their training for at least 3 months. Sometimes it's more. For the lady who went back to college and she had saved up her money and whatever she had, she went and paid for it. But then she's like, oh, now I don't know what to do. I've spent everything that I had to pay for classes. We will support in paying for those classes. So we need financial support. So we are asking people, in fact, we're in a season of saying to people that we want people to commit to giving on a regular basis because then it helps us to plan and it helps us to know we have this money coming in every month. We know that we have these women waiting to join our trauma-informed therapy program. So we know that we can admit them. And we know that we're not going to have to pull that program halfway because we've run out of money. So absolutely. And we say to people that don't think that we only need people who can give 100,000. Honestly, if it is 1,000 a month or 3,000 a month or 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, we need that. But just commit to give on a regular basis. We need partnerships. I can't speak enough to how much we need people who can give these women a space to come, exit sex work and go into the different jobs, the different vocational training. So there are so many people who are equipped in their own different areas. They are employers or they are in businesses that they know we could absorb some of those women. And we can help them come and learn and grow pole as they're getting used to what they're doing. We need partners. We have so many more women who need to go into different opportunities and pray for us. My goodness. In fact, last night I was talking in my community group and sharing how much we go through, like spiritual warfare. It is so real. It is, let me tell you, the devil has come for me like he has got nowhere else to go. Man. Yes.
You've got to share an experience with us.
Oh, gosh, like and actually God has opened my eyes just recently that I've been going through a season of most incredible, debilitating anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that has been spiritual warfare. Like, it's just opened up for me and just been like, this is not normal.
It's not of God.
It is not of God.
He does not give you anxiety.
No. What we are doing, we're literally stealing from the devil.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like that.
No.
He does not want
You're
that.
setting people free, literally.
Yes.
Both physically and spiritually.
Yes.
How the heck would the devil want you to be successful in that space?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need prayer. I have an amazing group of people who pray for us on a regular basis. And we have a group and we share those things.
Mm-hmm.
But we need people to be praying for us, covering us in prayer.
Yeah.
We literally go into the kingdom of darkness. It is physically dark because it's at night, on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
But it's spiritually dark. We will be in that space sometimes. And me and my team,
Mm-hmm.
we pray before we start and we pray at the end. But there are things that would happen in the room when we're having our outreach. And afterwards we'll be like, you felt that?
Wow.
I felt that. The dark power was in the room. There was someone in the room with a demonic manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, yeah, it was going on. We need prayer. I cannot insist enough how much we need to be prayed for and covered in prayer.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask, for the guys who watch the podcast, there are many ways that you can be able to take part in being a community that actually goes out and does right. So let me say first, you have had Eunice highlighting about the amount of work that they're doing with Rejesha. And allow me to challenge you and say, you don't even need to support the DJ Mo's podcast. What I'd like you to do is, if you can support Rejesha, for me, that would be a big win for us because of the incredible work that they're doing for those who are marginalized, commercial sex workers, and they're actually going out there and having real conversations with them and walking with them through the journey to get them out of the streets to being able to get their life back, be able to get some dignity and purpose and worth in life. And so I just want to ask you guys, please, tafadhali, go ahead and support Rejesha because this is going to a good cause. And it's for those women that we think do not deserve to be loved, but Christ came for the least of this. And so it's one of those ways that we can be able to be his hands and feet. And so you may not be able to go to the streets, but Eunice and her team are able to do it. So I'm going to ask you, tafadhali, please go ahead and see how it is that you can be able to support them, Sindio. And their details are down here. I am absolutely blown away by the work that you guys are doing. I'm going to go back a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So your first night in those streets of Nairobi, because I'm like, you're going to Kanairo and...
Literally.
And when you talk, I'm like, even those ladies are like, usi moja wetu. She's not one of us.
Man.
How was that for you?
Wacha nikwambie, especially back then, I had literally just come back.
Yeah.
It was only a few months after I had come back from the UK.
So you're fresh from...
Niko fresh kabisa. My Swahili is haina miguu, hata sijui ni nini nasema. There's a friend of mine who used to look at me and she's like, when you're speaking and you're trying to explain what it is you're saying, I don't get it. It's like, it looks like you're having a stroke or something. Like, what is this? Like, what's going on? I'm trying to piece together, translating. First of all, I'm translating all the way from Kikuyu and then to English and then to Swahili. And it's just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
No, my first few nights, I used to go out and I would sit at this coffee shop. Still my favorite, Java in town. I would sit there, Java Standard Street.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because then you can see what's happening down below.
Yeah.
And I would take a book and I'll go and sit at the balcony. And as I'm pretending to be reading, but what I'm doing is I'm just observing. I'm like, wow, okay. Huyu amekuja akaongea na huyu, alafu akaongea na soja. I'm like, oh, what is happening over there? Like that's... So then when I saw that's happening a lot, I went to the soldiers. That was my first... I felt like safe enough to first of all go to the security guards and be like, so, then I'm whispering, sasa, I have this idea. This is what I want to do. And then a few of them would say, oh, that is a wonderful idea. Unajua mimi kwanza hawa wasichana. Unajua ni sasa na hurumianga, sijui nini.
Because they see a lot.
They see a lot. And there is I don't know what kind of a relationship that is. But the security guards, some of them will help them get changed behind the doors and leave their things so that you're not having to carry your bag. Remember, you left home at 2 p.m. So you're still carrying a whole bag. So you need to change and then leave your things somewhere.
Yeah.
So there is that relationship going on.
Yeah.
But then I remember one day I went to this guy, the security guy, and then I said, and again I'm whispering, this is what I'm trying to do. And he said, hata ni marafiki zangu, wacha niwaite. And then he called them and I'm like, oh no, this is not what I wasn't prepared for this today. Like, what am I going to say? And I'm on my own.
Yeah.
What am I going to say? But I remember the conversation with those ladies, and it broke the ice, and I was like, Eunice, they're people. They're people just like me. What is going on? So that first conversation with those two women.
Yeah.
And one of them actually is no longer. Yeah, she's no longer on the streets.
That's
but
good.
I don't know where she is.
Okay.
But I remember talking to them, and she said, and I said, look, what would that space look like for you on a Saturday night? But I remember her saying, so mimi kama leo sijakula.
Yeah.
I had whatever money I had. I made sure I had like 50 bob to bring me to town. So hata sina pesa ya kurudi home. So sijakula. I left the other 50 bob or whatever it was with the kids. Wanunue supper. And she said, kwanza hiyo chakula, ukaleta chakula at least ndio so that I don't go hungry. Because what they will do is they wait until they get their first job, and then you go looking for a donut out when you're nazungukanga with donuts and chai, or you go and get the chips somewhere. So she said it would really help us, a space. And then the other one was like, especially kwanza the times when it's really cold na kunanyesha, like would be a nice space for us to just come. At least we can sit, we can be warm, we can have a nice warm cup of tea before we come out. So that's how this whole outreach program kind of like started. Let me tell you, the first few nights I was scared.
I can imagine, because you don't know how the response is going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even when they came, I remember when we did our first outreach, late 2019, and we went there with volunteers. My pastor at the time came, and we are sitting in the room, and everybody is looking at me, and I'm like, well, I don't know why you guys are looking at me like I have the answers. I don't have the answers. We're figuring this out together.
Yeah.
But when we went out and we invited the women and they came, me in my little belief and faith, I was like, oh yeah, they've come because they want to laugh at us. They're like, come and see this wacky bunch of Christians who brought some food. And then we went out the second time and they came even more. I think we had like 35. We had like 18 to 20 the first time. And then the second time it was like
doubled.
35. And I was like, they brought their friends to laugh at us even more. And I think Jesus at some point is like, Eunice, when are you going to get it? Like, you're where I want you to be.
This is real. That's so good. Now let's go back a little bit as well to your background. And first, I'm incredibly pleased with the work again that you're doing. I can't say that more. I can't say that enough.
Thank you.
Now the guys who are watching this might be like, man, Eunice, you've always had it together. This girl from she's from Kenya. She's going to the UK. What's your background?
Very.
Let me bring you back closer home. Yeah.
Close to home.
Yes.
I am so simple and very easy. Don't let the accent fool you. Absolutely not.
Did you grow up in Nairobi?
No, I grew up in partly in Nyeri and partly in Laikipia.
Oh wow!
Yes, brought up by a single mom.
Nyeri.
Yes. Most, in fact, I think your shags and my shags are not very far from each other.
We did talk about it. Yes.
We're not very far away from each other, actually.
We need to dig a little bit deeper.
I think so.
We might be
we might be. we need to go and find out.
Yeah.
So I grew up. I was born to my mom was very young when she had me. And my dad, of course, they were both very young, and they just, I guess my dad did not know what to do. And but my grandfather stepped in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was raised in this household with my grandparents and my mom. And then my mom, at some point, she left
Like
to
in
go
Shags?
abroad. Yes.
God, the Inyeri now.
Yes. Me, I grew up climbing trees.
I'm laughing because our shags are very close.
Yes.
So I know the area.
Yes. For like the first 6 years of my life, I am in Shags. I am in Nyeri.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I
Yes.
don't know why I'm laughing, but anyway, it's all good.
It is. That's how. So raised by my guka and my shosho.
Mhm.
And I have to say, I think God has His own ways of, because my dad not being there,
Yeah.
but my grandfather. I often say to people, I feel like I was like the apple of his eye.
Oh, that's so good.
And I was loved
Mhm.
so much and so dearly by
Yeah.
him. When he passed away, I felt it. I feel like my heart was broken.
Mhm.
So yes, so that was my upbringing. And then I went to live with my mom's, like my cousins in Laikipia.
Uh-huh.
And then
So
it
you're not
was
even
like,
coming to Nai.
no, I was coming to Nai to visit my cousins who are here.
They're like, oh, a cousin from Shags has come.
That's me.
Yeah.
That was me. And then yeah, the usual boarding schools
Yeah.
and then high school.
Mhm.
And then it was just after high school that I left to go to the UK. So for me, I've always been a very village girl. That's me.
Hey, yeah. From the Shags to the UK.
Man, let me tell you,
Guys, there's hope.
there is hope for all of us.
Yeah.
There is.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking you about that as well is because, you have come from that background. You've gone to the UK, you've studied psychology, and you've gone ahead, you've done an MBA, which I didn't even know that you're done.
Yes, I did.
In international
development.
There goes, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
And then God draws you to, ministry and
which was I kicked and screamed. I did not want to be in. I was like, then if it is that God, then it cannot be a ministry. I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't want to do that. It has to be. I had all these ideas of what I wanted it to look like. But actually, Jesus was like, no.
You never felt the desire to pursue your psychology.
I did. I told you, I really wanted to be a criminologist.
Yes.
Oh, then very quickly I realized I can't stand the sight of blood and dead bodies. And I was like, what am I going to do? Okay, that one we cannot do. So let's go into something. We need to find out something else to do. But I don't know. I feel over time, and me actually, at some point in my life, I had completely left the faith. I did not want anything to do with it. And also, I think arriving in the UK, you were presented with so many options. You're like, wait a minute, actually, I'm questioning everything that I ever knew. But God bringing back, and when I was now rediscovering, actually, I want this for myself. Not so much being told you need to go to church and this is what happens on a Sunday, but discovering that I actually wanted it for me. I think God was undoing me with that sense of pride and the ideas that I had for myself. And he's saying, actually, just live for me. For me. It's no longer about you. It is just do this. Do this for me.
Wow.
Creating that sense of strong justice in me. Yeah. That's God. That was God doing me. And I feel like God saving my life. Saving my life.
That's incredible. And I like the word that you've used, justice. Because God is using you to restore the lives of not just the women, but think about their dependents. So it goes beyond the woman. But also the dependents. But then also the other people that are going to be significantly impacted by the testimonies of these women. When you think about, the work that you started through Rejesha. And, Eunice, I want to celebrate you again today and just say, keep it, I've got your back. I'll support you in every way. My family and I will support you in every way that we can.
Thank you.
Because we love the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And challenge my kids to bake some more.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. I think we need so many hands on deck. This is, I always say to people, this is not a Eunice project. This is a God project.
It is.
And there are so many people in this community that we want to engage with.
Yeah.
And we need people like you, Muz, who I often say, I don't have access. There are tables and doors that I don't have access to, but you do. Challenge people to say, hey, you've been in this community for how long? What are you doing for the least of these? Because God will ask us, what have you been doing to serve his people? So we need those partnerships. We need access to spaces. For me, I will always advocate for the ladies that I serve and I work with. They need spaces to go into. So this is not a Eunice story. It is a God story. Women who are giving their life to Christ. Where do they then go? If they did not belong to a church.
Probably not even know what to do with these women.
But we're there to... Yes.
Sometimes,
we will walk with them. We will walk in this together and we will make mistakes.
Yeah. Like we all
will do. Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rejesha is such a significant word. Because like you said, it's about, you're bringing back or you're restoring. And for me, I have been able to experience that restoration of life through Christ, and he brought me back to his fold. Like he left the 99 behind to come and look for this lost sheep of his that was looking deep in the clubs and in the world. And so I love the work that you are doing. And for those who are listening to the podcast or watching it, just as an anchor of hope, we also do want to remind you that every time, every day that we have, God is giving us an opportunity to be restored, like our relationship with him to be restored first and foremost, where God can say that this is my son or this is my daughter, because God doesn't have any grandchildren. Eunice may have been raised up by her grandfather because her dad was not around. But God does not have any grandchildren. He only has sons and daughters, because you need to have that relationship with him where you can say that God is my father and I am his son or I am his daughter. The other thing that God does is, through Christ, is he restores and he gives you a newness of life. And, he gives you hope, and a hope that does not disappoint. It doesn't mean that you won't go through challenges. And the thing that he says is, in this world, you're going to face many challenges or many trials, but be of good cheer because I have overcome the world. And so, but there's that hope that he gives, and it's a hope that does not disappoint, where, it's not just hope for this life, but it's also hope for life after this life, where we know that our life with Christ is secure and it's solid. And then he also restores love to us. And the love that he restores to us it's not like a love of a human being. As you listen to the story that Eunice is sharing about the women, there's some people who are actually thinking that, they're going to find love by meeting with these women, or they're going to feel, made whole because they need to release their sexual urge. But, it's not like that, and it's only through the love of Christ are you made whole. And that love is a love that will never be broken. It's a love that will never be taken away. It's a love that's very solid. And that's what Rejesha is doing. They're connecting these wonderful sisters and mothers of ours to the love of God, because they're not just giving them an opportunity to be able to come out of the streets. It goes beyond that. It's about restoring their dignity, restoring their identity, giving them an opportunity to be able to dream again. And above all, being able to connect with Christ, where they can find a love that's not like what they've experienced in the streets, where they've been battered, or they've been stabbed, or, they've been played where someone has slept with them and they've told them, get away, I'm not paying you, you know, but it's a love. It's a love that covers a multitude of sins. It's a love that gives us a new start. But then it's also a love that will never be broken by anything, because nothing can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus. So, man, I hope that you've been blessed by the podcast today. Eunice, as you were talking, I was thinking about, let me finish this for you. I was thinking about when you talked about the lady who had, you know, she's 62. She has been in the streets for over 30 years. And I thought about how Christ set free the lady who had an issue for 38 years.
Yeah.
He made her whole.
Yeah.
There was a man who was crippled for 38 years. He found him chilling by, you know, by Bethesda, by the pool in Bethesda. And he was like, do you want to be made whole? And the guy starts giving excuses.
I have
like,
nobody to put me, dip me in, and they go in first. Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody's there to look out for me. And Jesus was like, listen, you're free today. Yeah. You're made whole today. Pick up your mat and walk. That's what you're doing with these women. That your love is very real, it's very tangible. That you're God's tangible kingdom in a very relevant way today. So keep at it. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
Way. That's huge. I just feel like I'm just a broken person, but I said yes.
You've been made whole.
We've been made whole.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that the amazing love of Jesus?
Yeah, and he uses broken jars.
Yes. Yes. Never the ones who think they are whole, but those who've been broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough.
This has been so good.
Thank you.
I could not have thought of a better podcast to talk about Valentine's, because this is true, tangible love. Love in its purest form. I love it. Guys, my guest today has been none other than Eunice Njeri.
Thank you.
I know guys are like, Eunice Njeri?
Yeah.
This is the other. No, this is not. This is the real Eunice Njeri. And there's the other real Eunice Njeri.
I get confused a lot.
Yeah.
Are you sisters? Are you related? No, we're not. And I also get confused with Eunice. People ask with Eunice Matthew.
Oh, wow.
Eunice Matthew of Parents Magazine.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, no.
Is Parents Magazine still there?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
You know, it's showing guys how old we are.
Yeah.
And us guys are still young.
Yes.
We're still in our 20s.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
You know, this is what you can do with your 20s, life in your 20s.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I have had a really good podcast and I hope that you've been blessed as well. What you need to do is go ahead, share this podcast with as many people as possible, especially because of the conversations we've had today. We've highlighted about the work that Eunice is doing together with her friends at Rejesha. Guys, we want to invite you into this space. Go ahead and share with your loved ones. Go ahead and share with your enemies, because keep your enemies close. That's how you show them love, by sharing this podcast with them. Cindio, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Peace and God bless.
God bless.
Thank you, man.